Exercise 905, the range and interquartile range. This just flows on nicely from what we've done with quartiles. So all we've got to do is subtract. Interquartile range is just Q3 minus Q1. So while the mean, median and mode describe the center of data, so girls, remember when we did, it's really important that you know what are the measures of central tendency and what measures describe the spread of the data. Mean, median and mode describe the center of data, right? But there are, so you know the three M's, mean, median, mode, they're for the center, but there are three different measurements of this, mean, median, mode, the three M's describe the center of data. There are also three summary statistics that describe the spread of the data, and those are the range, the interquartile range, and the standard deviation. So these are called measures of spread. Okay, so we've got three measures of center, or three measures of location, or three measures of central tendencies. They're the MMM, mean, median, mode. Then we have three measures of spread: range, interquartile range, and standard deviation. Now, range is the simplest, then interquartile range gives you a bit more information, but standard deviation gives you the most information about the spread of the scores, okay? Now, we'll be looking at those over the next few days. So, range only takes into account the highest minus the lowest score. Why would range not be very good sometimes? Because it would include outliers. Whereas the interquartile range doesn't include outliers. It's just Q3 minus Q1. So if there is a score at the very end, just like median's not affected by outliers, neither is interquartile range. So the range represents the total spread of scores, but it is not a good measure because it is not a good measure if there are outliers. Whereas the interquartile range is not affected by outliers because it measures the range of the middle two quarters. So what it does, can you actually just write here that the interquartile range is, you know how it's Q3 minus Q1, it's giving you the middle what percentage of scores. Just watch what I'm going to do here. Girls, here's Q1, Q2, Q3. How many scores are, what percentage of scores are below Q1? What percentage, and what percentage of scores are above Q3? So guess what? See the middle 50? The interquartile range is the middle 50% of scores. So the IQR is the middle 50% of scores. The interquartile range is the middle 50% of scores. The reason is, here is Q1. This is drawn in the graph already, but if each quarter is 25%, do you see that? I've got 25% there, 25%, 25%, 25%. The interquartile range is this bit, Q3 minus Q1. It's the middle 50% of scores. Quartile range of these scores, we notice they're not in order, so how many threes, how many fours, 2 threes, 2 fours, keep going. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Notice I'm making sure I haven't made a mistake. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Great. Okay, what's the range? Highest minus the lowest, 8 minus 3, which is 5. But what's the interquartile range? We have to find the median first. Now, I've chosen an odd number of scores here on purpose. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, we're going to go like this. I've got 9 scores. I'm going to put 4 there, 1 in the middle. That's my median. So my median is 5. Does it get included when I want to work out my lower quartile? Great. So of these 4, we go 2, 2, and we put a line in between. And these 4, we go 2, 2, and we put a line in between. This 5 is not included in the lower set of data or the upper set of data. So the lower quartile is between, see what I mean, you got 2 scores, 2 scores. That's your median. It's taken out. 2 scores, 2 scores. So what's our lower quartile? Yep, it's the average of 3 and 4, which is 3.5. Let's have a look at the upper quartile. 1, 2, 3, 4. Divide those in half. What's the upper quartile?
6.
Great, 6. So therefore the interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1, which is 6 minus 3.5, which is 2.5. In other words, see the range. So the range was 5, but the interquartile range, the middle 50% of scores, their range of the middle 50% of scores is 2.5. That's the interquartile range. The number of vehicles driving past that high school each minute in 20 minutes. Do you remember how to interpret the graph? How many times do 7 cars pass per minute? Just asking a question. How many times out of those 20-minute periods? Yeah. So in 5 of those 20-minute periods, yes. The 5 times out of those 20-minute periods, there were 7 cars passing in a minute. So which of the following is the interquartile range? Okay, you've got to count your dots. Plan yourself first. I believe we had 20 dots, yes? And how are we going to divide it up? We're going to go 10, 10. Put a line, that's my median. Then I'm going to break these up. 5, 5. Put a line. 5, 5. Put a line. So you know what? You don't have to count. Just be careful counting backwards. You could just count. This is Q1 and this one's Q3. You don't have to count 15 dots in a row to get to Q3. You could count 5 from the back. Do you remember? But if you're counting from the front, you always go down and up. All right? If you're counting from the front. But if you're counting from the back, you go in reverse order. You go 1, 2, 3. Get it? 4, 5. That should be Q3 from the back. Do you get that? It's 5 scores from the back, put a line. But let's look at Q1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's Q1. You tell me how many scores there should be in between those 2 lines.
5.
No? Yes, someone just said it. 10. There will be 10 scores between Q1 and Q3. Do you see that? There's Q1, there's Q3. There should be 10 scores between them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Why did I count from the down, bottom up? Because I'm going forwards, right? Yeah. Okay, so there's Q1, there's Q3. If I want, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and stick my median if I wanted, but I don't have to. So girls, what's Q1, what's Q3, and what's IQR, interquartile range? So what's Q3? Oh, Q1. Yeah, it's halfway between 5 and 6. And what is Q3? Yeah, it's the average of 8 and 8, which is 8. So therefore, the interquartile range is 8 minus 5.5, which is 2.5. The interquartile range is 2.5, which means that the middle 50% of scores are only separated by 2.5. Whereas what's the range? 10 minus 2, which is 8. See how the range is such a poor indicator of the spread? Okay? All right. Whereas the middle 50% of scores are only 2.5 apart. Does that make sense? But 100% of the scores are 8 apart. So, okay, next question. The stem and leaf plot represents the number of points per match scored by the Sharks in a football season. Jeez. Oh, in a season, I was going to say. Not in a game. Right. Which of the following is the interquartile range for this data? And we also have to work out the range. So what's the first thing you want to do? You can't go finding medians. You would do, yeah, we could do the range. Let's do the range for question 7 first. What have we got? What's the range?
89 minus 43.
Yes, it's the highest score minus the lowest. That one's good. Is that 46? That's a big range. Now the interquartile range, what do you have to do before you start? How are we going to find the quartiles? You need to know how many what? How many scores? Yeah, let's count. You know what you could do? See this here? How many have I got there? Look what I've got 15 there because it's 3 times 5. See the grid? Quick way to count. 16, 17. Yep, there is 20. So we go 20. We start splitting them. 10 to the left, 10 to the right. There's the median. And split again. I like this splitting. Okay. Be careful, please, when you count backwards in a dot plot, or just decide to count forwards. All right. What should I do to put my first quartile? Q1. How many do I count? So I go 5 forwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's Q1. What is Q1? What do I do? Yeah, we good? It's the average of 52 and 57, which is 54.5. You know what you do? 2 and 7 is 9. Half of 9 is 4.5. We know we're in the 50s. Only if you're in the same tens bundle. You know what I mean? Tens bundle. Don't count backwards. Which way? You don't count backwards forwards. Do you understand? Even though for this particular one you'd end up with the same. If you want to count backwards, you've got to go from the highest score back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if you think you're going to mess that up, count forwards. Count forwards how many? If I wanted Q3, so Q1's there. How many do I have to count forwards to get Q3? If you want to check what you just did. Yeah, another 10 from there or 15 from the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's Q1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I wanted, that's the median. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, it's right. But counting backwards, please go backwards. Do you get it? Especially for a stem and leaf plot. All right, so Q3 is what? The average of what? 72 and 73. I'm happy for you just to write 72.5. So therefore, the interquartile range is 72.5 minus 54.5. Is that 18 or something? I think it is. Notice, so what does the interquartile range mean? That the middle 50% of scores have a range of 18. That's what it means. This means that the middle 50% of scores have a range of 18. Whereas the range, as you know it, is 46. The absolute spread of the scores is 46, but the middle 50% of scores only differ by 18.